Hi, welcome aboard. Over the last few weeks, we've been covering aspects of tourism in Rockhampton. Now, we make no secret of the fact that Rockhampton has always been one of those places that you pass through on your way to somewhere else. And people who do that really do miss an opportunity to visit a superb tourism destination, which, as we've seen over the last few weeks, has a huge number of attractions and has something to suit absolutely everybody. Now, one of the things that's really impressed me over the time that we've been shooting this material is the energy and the support of the council as far as getting Rocky up and running is concerned. This is one of the most active, energetic and supportive councils that I've had anything to do with over the 19-year run of the show. Now, the council operates in all areas of the community. And one of the areas in which the council is particularly interested is heritage. Now, Rockhampton has a very strong, very powerful heritage. It goes back many years to the start of settlement, as a matter of fact. And for a number of years, they've had a heritage village on the outskirts of Rocky. Now, about 2 years ago, the opportunity arose to move that heritage village closer into Rockhampton and to expand it and make it far more representative of life in Rockhampton 100 or 130 years ago. Now, the Heritage Village is in halfway through its first stage, if you like, of construction. Drew Wickerson is the man who has been charged by the council with the responsibility of making it all happen and work. You'll see that Drew certainly fits in with the heritage image, with the way in which he dresses, and he even rides a penny farthing bike around the site on a regular basis. I took the opportunity to talk to Drew and find out just how all this worked at a bush festival which was run a short time ago in Rocky.
Well, I think the big bonus was we got a grant of $1.9 million through DEACHA, which is the Department of Employment, to train a total of 150 out-of-work young people and middle-aged people to build what you see behind us here. So that's really kicked it off.
So these people were unskilled?
To the most part. We had a few amongst them that were carpenters, but generally they had low skills in this sort of technique, but we train them with fully accredited training and bring them up to speed with this sort of work.
So they go out into the work community or into the general community with those skills confirmed?
Absolutely. It's all going to be fully accredited, and we're really pleased that we've got about 25% success rate so far. So 20 out of 100 people so far have got full-time employment because of us, we'd like to think.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
And the standard of workmanship is tremendous.
Yes, well, we can't follow it. We're fairly particular about the detail and the authenticity, and we've had fully qualified carpenters look at this and just say this is tremendous work that they're doing. It's brilliant.
Now, what's the basis of the layout of the village?
Okay, the layout is to create a fully activated living history township. So all the streets and the buildings will replicate what Rockhampton was like 100 years ago and through to about 1930. So that's the aim.
Now, we just had a bus go past in the background there. What about the restored vehicles? You've got a tremendous range of restored vehicles.
That's right. Well, to bring the village to life, we need things like fully restored vehicles, people in costume that
Yes.
sort of fit the part, as well as all the working trades, bakeries, blacksmith printers, everything that the township would have had 100 years ago.
Now, say the bakery and the printer, will they operate on a commercial basis?
They will, but I think at this stage we're looking at council running it, keeping it in-house,
Right.
because everything that we make has to go back into the future development. We're only opening stage 1 next year, but there's many more stages to come after that.
Well, how many?
Or who knows, probably 10 plus, I'd say.
Is that right?
Yes, it's a big scheme, it'll take a long time.
So it'll take a long time, and obviously you're going to have to secure funding on a sort of an ongoing basis for it.
Well, yeah, a lot of it will come from corporate and community sponsorship, which we hope will increase over the time, but also from the money that we raise. So we have to look at the commercial aspects as well as the historical aspects.
Now, what about the local business community? Have they supported it?
That's right. We've had a target of $1.2 million. I think we've raised so far $1.1 million in corporate and community sponsorship towards it. So that Rockhampton's really got behind the place and they've got confidence in it.
Now, is that in money or in kind?
Most of it's in kind. There's not too much cold hard cash floating around these days, but if it's bricks and mortar and services that are provided, that's things that we'd spend money on as well. So yes. It's just as valid as cold hard cash.
Yes, yeah, and I noticed that the timber and all of the support structure there is there as a result of the community support.
That's right. We've had all sorts of businesses and even individuals sort of give time or money or materials towards it. It's just been brilliant.
Drew, it seems to me that in these somewhat difficult times, particularly in the country, it's unusual for a council to invest this much in this type of project. Mm-hmm. What was the motivation behind the council doing that?
Oh, well, we were lucky about 4 or 5 years ago. The council received a donation of a whole existing museum. All the vehicles and the goods and chattels of a local museum was handed over to us on a plate, basically, donated by the Hinds and Gomersall families. They couldn't make ends meet with the museum. So that was the inspiration, I think, and we've built this heritage village to accommodate that existing collection to move it over. I think that the council see the ownership of their heritage as their responsibility for the good of the whole of Rockhampton's community.
Now obviously a bush festival is to do with Australian bush music, all aspects of it, and this festival had the full variety, the full spectrum if you like, of Australian bush music, and the man who headed up the coordination of all of the musical activities was a man whose voice is well known to Australians because for many years he was a regular on Macca's Good Morning Australia, and that's Mike O'Sullivan.
Get those hands going!
We've got entertainers here from Sydney, from Melbourne, and visitors as far away from Cooktown.
Is that right?
At the festival here this weekend. Yeah.
Well, I noticed somebody last night asked who was in the crowd from the various states, and a couple of Tasmanians put their hands up.
There's a couple of Tasmanians, yeah. So we've got people from everywhere.
And what about the bush village here, Michael?
The bush village is a replica of Rockhampton from 1847 to 1900. It's presently being built and it will be finished at this time next year. There's a little bit more work to do. And it's a great situation because people are really enjoying the Australian cultural heritage again. We have thousands of people here today, and no doubt we'll have the same amount tomorrow. But they're really enjoying themselves. All the horse and buggy rides and the old drays and all the Australian music, of course, because that's the great part of it, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, talking about Australian music, there's a tremendous variety of acts. And it certainly confirms the fact that we have a uniquely Australian musical culture.
That's right,
culture,
yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do. I'm not a great fan of line dancing. I'd sooner do tiger dancing. But we've got some great Australian entertainers. We've got the Bushwhackers here, who really are our stamp for the whole weekend as far as Australian entertainers. But we've got folk entertainers from Sydney, so it brings Australian folk music into a place like Rockhampton. And also Rockhampton is a great place to collect songs because we have so many songs about gold mining, the railways, the West,
the cattle, the drivers, all that.
Yeah, and people come here to collect songs and tunes. So that's, it's a great situation.
Welcome back. Still on the subject of Australia's heritage, back in late 93 and 1994, we documented in some detail the recreation of a 1919 VICKERS VIMY bomber and its flight across the world to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Ross and Keith Smith's pioneering airline flight in 1919. Now, this project was mostly Australian. It was designed by Bill Whitney using original Vickers drawings. It was built mostly in Australia. The fuselage, the engines and the tail were built in Australia. And when it became clear that the aircraft wouldn't be certified by our local bureaucracy in time to commemorate the flight, the wings and the final assembly, erection and test flying took place in America. Now, the aircraft left the Farnborough Air Show in 1994 and flew halfway across the world to commemorate this flight. Now, this was really quite a remarkable undertaking. It's a huge aeroplane. The flight was very long. It used converted 454 Chev truck engines with gearboxes made in Australia. It really was quite a remarkable undertaking. And the driving force behind it was a man whom I'm proud to consider my good friend, and that was Lang Kidby. Now, Lang is an adventurer. That wasn't by any means the first adventure that Lang had undertaken. He served his aviation apprentice in the Army, flying liaison aircraft, and has continued to fly ever since. Lang's latest project is probably in its own way more exciting than the VIMY project, and that is the recreation of Bert Hinkler's solo flight from England to Australia in 1928. Now, that happened in February 1928, and the aircraft that Bert used was an Avro Avian. Now, Lang has been able to source an original Avro Avian, which lay in a shed near Gingin in Queensland for 60 odd years. He is in the final stages of fully rebuilding the aircraft. It will have a Gypsy engine, which has been returned to brand spanking new condition in America. And in February 1998, he will commemorate the 70th anniversary of Bert Hinkler's record-making flight using the original aircraft. Now, it's not Bert's aircraft, but it is an exact replica. It came off the production line a couple of places away from Bert's aircraft. Now, by any measure, this is an adventure. It's a huge undertaking. Lang, of all people in the world, has the ability to carry it through and to do it properly. And he's seeking corporate sponsorship for the venture. Now, if anybody there would like to support Australia's heritage, would like to introduce young people, which will be the way in which the flight will be oriented as far as its promotion is concerned, to Australia's heritage and also the joys of aviation, if you contact me on the number that comes up at the end of the show, I'll be happy to put you in touch with Lang Kidby and with the project. A few weeks ago, we covered TJM four-wheel drive accessories research and development program on their airbag compatible bull bars. Now, just to clear up a point, one of the problems with bull bars on early airbag equipped vehicles was the fact that the bull bar would confuse the sensors in the vehicle and fire the airbag prematurely. So TJM set about building a test rig to test motor vehicles, and they tested their own personal motor vehicles initially, to find out the best way of mounting the bull bars so that the shock wave was transmitted through the chassis in exactly the way it would be if the bull bar weren't fitted. In other words, in the way the original designers had intended. Now, you're looking at the first test session now. It was quite extensive at Geebung. It was a temporary test setup. The readouts were obviously very accurate. And as a result of the success of this test session, TJM have set up a permanently installed test rig in a part of their large factory at Geebung, which has computer readouts from load sensors all over the vehicle, which has a weight which can be varied and which swings back to various degrees in order to simulate impact on the bull bar at various road speeds. Now, the sensors go along the chassis of the motor vehicle. They test the shock wave as it moves through, or they sense the shock wave as it moves through. And the tests have been so successful that original equipment vehicle manufacturers from around the world are now contacting TJM to ask them to test their vehicles so that TJM bull bars can be incorporated as original equipment, accessory equipment if you like, in retail outlets around the world. Now, this is an expensive undertaking. It's one which shows the thoroughness with which TJM approach all of their manufacturing and supply and research and development of all of their products, including their Series 2000 suspension, including all other aspects of their aftermarket four-wheel drive accessories. And once again, it points up the fact that Australian technology and Australian dedication can yield a product which is relevant to people all over the world and generate huge export markets. We'll be back right after this break. Now, as a second Father's Day special for this week, for the dads who are interested in gardening, we have our Wombat garden trolley. Now, This little trolley is a compact little unit. It's quite lightweight, even though it's extremely solidly made from rotationally moulded plastic with large diameter wheels which will trundle over the roughest of ground. It has a soft seat under which is a compartment to carry your garden tools, your seed bags and that sort of thing. It can be easily carried around like a suitcase, or you can trundle it around with a bit of string tied around the handle. Now, it was primarily designed as a garden trolley, and it's of a height which allows you to sit down. If you're like me and you've got a crook back, it really is a welcome relief, and work at ground level in the maximum amount of possible comfort. It's also usable in the house for loading and unloading bottom shelves for cleaning. It's ideal for mum for use around the house. It's not recommended that you stand on it for any reason because the wheels don't have a brake or any way of locking them, so it's not safe to stand on. Don't do that. And also, it's an ideal toy for the kids, and in fact my kids have one each, and they use them all the time in preference to their hugely expensive pedal cars and that sort of thing. They seem to prefer the Wombat. Isn't that the way with little kids? Now, as I said, it's a quality product. It's conceived, designed and made in Australia from rotationally moulded heavy-duty plastic. It is extremely long-lasting. The people who have bought them over the last year or so from us have reported back that they're extremely happy with them. The price is $49.95 plus $9.50 postage and handling. And as a special Father's Day gift bonus, for the days when it's too wet to go gardening, we will include a copy of my book, Chris Conroy's Boating the First Step, worth $14.95, absolutely free, as I said, as a Father's Day bonus. Give us a call on the 1-800 number that comes up on your screen now, and we'll get your orders to you in plenty of time for Father's Day. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back. To my knowledge, we're the only television entity to market worm starter packs on television. Now, I think most people are aware of the great benefits of using mulching worms to turn over kitchen waste, green waste, animal poo and that sort of thing, and turn it into one of the world's best soil conditioners and fertilisers. And it's well within the scope of people who live even in small units to set up a little worm bed and to cycle their waste through and use the products of that worm bed to fertilise their indoor plants or even their gardens. Now, our worm starter pack comprises around 250 grams or around 1,000 worms in bedding material, which also contains juvenile worms and worm eggs, so there's plenty of worms in there. Our video, The Techniques of Worm Farming, which runs about 1 hour 20 and covers all aspects of both professional and amateur worm breeding and worm farming, and an instruction sheet on how to set up one of those white foam plastic fruit shop boxes as your breeding bed. The total is $79.95 plus $9.50 postage and handling for the lot. Give us a call on the 1-800 number. Now, before I go, Modern Fishing magazine for August, the cover price has been reduced to $4.95, which makes it even better value, and believe me, it is the best fishing magazine value available on the Australian market. There is an article on Spotlight on the Solomons, fishing in the Solomon Islands, a superb article on winter bass and bream, and an equally interesting article on spinning for early season tuna, along with the Daly River, about catching barra on the Daly River, and watch Leisure World towards the end of the year for more live action on the show on fishing in the Northern Territory. Catching bream on flies, which is an entirely new technique for fishing, and sports fishing north of Cape York. Whatever you do, call into your newsagent and pick up your copy of August Modern Fishing magazine. That wraps us for another week. It's been a full show. We'll see you next week with another full show. In the meantime, take care and safe boating.